Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining with us this morning. My name is Dr. Frank Minja. It's my distinct honor to host this session, which is 201 steps for, strategies and tips for preparing for the USMLE examinations. And I'm here again joined with my good friend, Dr. James Ignas Koola and Barbara Odek, and also her husband Magacha, who will be our panelists for this session this morning. We've had a bunch of these sessions before. If you've gone onto YouTube, we already have done a similar session, but this is for the benefit of people to do this live so they can have a chance to ask any questions they may have, and also a chance for us to kind of build community as you see others are engaged in this space, and all of you are kind of trying to go through the same steps and so forth. And what we're here to tell you is that, hey, it's very, very possible, and there's a true and tried strategies that Dr. Ignas will share. So long as you follow the script, more or less, you should be on your way to greater success. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Dr. James Ignas Koola to lead us in this session. Karib, Dr. James.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's 6 a.m. here in the Eastern time, so kind of morning and early. Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure, to see so many people across different countries coming to kind of follow with us as you prepare for your USMLE journey. It's our quest to help you and guide you. And as long as you come along, we'll be here to do it. So my name is Dr. James Ignas Koola. I'm originally born and raised from Tanzania. Are there anybody from KCMC? I was born in KCMC and studied down the road at Old Mosh Secondary School for my 4 years. And then I went to Iliboru for high school. And eventually went to Muhimbili. I did my MD degree there. Worked in Kenya for like 2.5, almost close to 3 years, and then came to the US to do an MPH. And after the MPH, I kind of, I was contemplating to do USMLE, I didn't have any guidance. And when I came to the US, I met one of my colleagues who was already just starting residence. And I asked him like, I want to do USMLE. What do you think? And he said, don't waste your time. It's not worth it, just do your public health thing. And then I'm talking to my Nigerian friends. Everybody is studying, they're going for their USMLE and say, man, this is the thing you should do. And he's like, why is my colleague telling me this way? So I kind of did my own research and I found like what I was being told is not right, but it took me time. And eventually I did my exams and I did my internal medicine, preventive medicine residence program. So now I work as associate program director for the internal medicine, preventive medicine residence program at Griffin Hospital in Derby, Connecticut. So I teach residents, I interview, I recruit them, I mentor them. And, it's through doing this where I thought like, given what I went through, and of course, with a lot of push from Dr. Minja, like, James, you gotta do this. Let's do it in such a way that we can capture everybody. Now the people we have are the people who knows you or they know me, but we wanted to reach the unreachable, share the information widely so that those people who wants to do it can do it and then don't get intimidated or misdirected. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of psychological wars going around, and you don't want any one of you, to fall victim to that. So this is really the essence. And as Dr. Minja has said, all the information is available in the internet. What we are trying to do is just to package it together and to show you like, hey guys, we have done this. Don't listen to any BS. Just work on this, work on your craft, and you'll be able to do it. So literally, that's what we are trying to do. So I'll bring up my slides so that I can be more strategic. Just a moment. I will share. Anything to add, Dr. Minja, as I bring up my slides?
No, you're doing great. Just to recenter your slides, but other than that, I think we're doing great. It's not sure.
I'm gonna show it. I'm working on it.
Oh, got it.
Show present. There we go.
Awesome.
Excellent. So, as I said, we Welcome to USMLE 201. And what we are focusing now is preparation strategy. And all the people who you are here, we invited you because you got the USMLE number. So if for 101, we advertise, we go on the social media, we try to reach everybody. We try to reach your TAMSA representative. TAMSA is Tanzania Medical Students Association, Medical Students Association in Kenya, in Uganda, in Rwanda, to kind of reach as many people as possible. And then we do the one-on-one. And this year, one-on-one, we just had one session and we had 650 people attend. Register for the session. Almost 180 attended. And out of this, 71 people sent their USMLE numbers. Now, these are the people who we invite for 201. So we don't think it's worth us wasting our time to teach you how to tell you how to do the exam if you don't have the basic thing, which is the USMLE number, which is free. So it's good. It's an interesting trend that I see, because out of the 650 people who registered and got the YouTube direct from me, only 50 people sent USMLE numbers. And then the other 22 are the people who watched us online. So they will send and say, hey, this is my USMLE number. I watched you online. I'm interested, and like, oh, welcome aboard. So it doesn't matter how you get the information. What we really want is to try to reach as many people as possible. And after the one-on-one, which is free, 201, we don't talk anywhere. We just send the dedicated registration to the people who registered, and we move on. So it's to ensure that we real smoothen it, we don't waste time, and we can move forward. So I have with me the person who started speaking, Dr. Minja, who is neuroradiologist at Emory in Atlanta. Frank, you forgot to say what you do. And then with me, I have Barbara Odak, who is originally from Kenya, Jamhuri ya watu wa Kenya. Jamhuri is presented. She went to Kenyatta University. She's now PGY3 doing internal medicine, preventive medicine residence. So she did her MPH at Yale, and she'll be in the 4-year program, the same program that I did. And then Hesbon Magacha, who is now PGY2 at East Tennessee State University. Hesbon is originally from Tanzania, born and raised, went to Tabora School, then did his MD in Cuba. And so Hesbon is aspiring to do gastroenterology and is now second year. I can't believe it. Barbara is aspiring to do cardiology. So is a coming up cardiologist from Kenya. So welcome, and thank you so much for helping us kind of in the background as we are going along. If you have any question, just write it in the chat. They'll be trying to respond in real time, and those key questions which show like repeating themes, we'll talk about them at the end of the presentation. So don't forget what you want to ask. Just put your questions in the chat. So before you came here, like 10 days ago, I sent in a survey to all the people who had sent me USMLE numbers. So I sent to 71 people, I think, who then had USMLE numbers, and 52 people responded before February 5, which was my cutoff time to kind of do my quick analysis. And really, the demographics, the data that I collect, kind of helps me to see who's the audience that I have, so that I can tailor my call, kind of my talk, to be able to cater for you what you need. And so it's very interesting. As I say, I'm seeing very interesting trend. In our first talk last year, I had a lot of people who are like 7, 8, 10 years post-graduation. I'm seeing like the trend is moving to where we want. Like I'm getting more of the young audience, some MD1, MD2, MD3, MD4s. And so that's real good, because we want to capture you early. And I'll keep talking this, back and back again, how important it is for you to be able to do this early, quickly, and apply immediately after your graduation. So I've been getting from here and there, people will Google me, and of course they'll find my work email, and somebody email me, or I'm interested in USMLE. Don't do that. If you decide to Google, you'll find my information. Don't waste your time emailing me personally. Everything goes through usmlepursuit@gmail.com. You have any question, send it there. It's easier and nice for everybody to kind of mentor you together as a cohort. It helps us be able to reach as many people as possible rather than do individual emails. So don't think like finding my email in the internet is a discovery. No, it's out there, but don't go there. Let's use the proper channel so that we can mentor more people and we can concentrate our energy in such a way that everybody benefits. So I had a question about country of birth, which almost they can superimpose with country of medical school. So I just ignored that and put country of medical school. I mean, we have some people who trained in China, but none from China. I mean, I think there are people from East Africa who went to China, but majority are still from Tanzania, almost close to 60%, and Kenya there are like 30%. Last year we had some Rwandans, and I had some Rwandan representative. I sent the advert, but this year we didn't get any response kind of from Rwanda. Nobody from Rwanda / responded. So kind of share the word so that we can have more people from across real East and Central Africa. And this is the demographics in terms of where people are, in terms of their academic training, some MD1, MD2, majority are MD5 and interns, which are people just 1 year post-graduation. So it's really an ideal time. It's real, good that you start working up this way in such a way that, you apply early, and I'll keep reinforcing why is that important. And then, of course, we are moving towards now, I hope in the next, 1-2 years, we'll really be reaching the people who are early in their career. And of course, most people, 86%, they have not started anything yet. So they have not started the preparation. So it's good. So I can really tell you about what it is, how do you prepare, and you go with a strong foot forward, knowing exactly what you need to do, and so that you position yourself to succeed. And for those people who have graduated, who are like 28 out of the people who responded, the people who responded to me, most of them are between 1 and 2 years. So they have just finished medical school. So as I said, the trend is coming towards the early part of the academic. And it's really important, as I'll keep talking and reinforcing. You have to do it and do it early. So all of you, who registered, you couldn't join us. And those who joined us, congratulations for getting your USMLE number. Congratulations for walking the walk. You are part of the 7%. Out of the people we started with this year. And I'll tell you, for last year, I think last year we had like close to 140 USMLE numbers. Those people who did not send USMLE numbers, their contacts are away. I don't talk to them anymore. For me, they just happened and they passed. So we deal with the people who are moving forward. And so it's really important to have your skin on the game and you keep marching along. So USMLE preparation is a very crucial step for your residency application and subsequent graduate medical education training in the US. So you needed to do it quickly and efficiently. I cannot overemphasize it. This is like the 10th time I'm talking about you doing your exams quickly, passing well, and efficiently. And so really, the strategy for you preparing depends on your current status. And I bolded current status because I divide status in terms of preparation in USMLE into 2 groups. Either you're a medical student or you're a graduate. It doesn't matter you graduated 10 years ago, 2 weeks ago, 1 day ago. I put them in those 2 solid groups. And so I'll try to share with you really tried methods that I practiced myself. And of course, which I also shared with some medical students, and they practiced and they show me that it works. So it's very, if you Google, I went to YouTube and I said USMLE preparation strategy, you get like 1 million videos. There are so many people, they are giving kind of things which are really unrealistic. Somebody saying, I prepared, I just sleep 3 hours a day. Doesn't work like that, so there's a lot of misleading, there's a lot of exaggeration. So we are just giving you bread and butter of what worked, and kind of try to tailor yourself and go. Don't waste your time jumping from skill to skill, because you really waste your time. So you need to find one thing and stick to your plan, you know. And as I said, you need to do it very quickly because your time post-graduation really determine your chances of matching. So as I said, I've worked with medical students. They have used this. They have done very well. Professor Minja used to send to me like his students, his mentees sometimes. I mean, speak with this, my colleague of mine who has went through and kind of give them a quick rundown and they'll come back with very good feedback. I mean, I was struggling. Now I follow the thing. It's working for me. And thank you very much. You know what? I scored 250. I scored this and I'm doing well. And that's excellent. That's what we are looking for. So the key thing I want you to appreciate is you cannot sleepwalk into USMLE and pass your USMLE. It requires dedication and determination, and you are 100% buy-in. You have to convince yourself so that you can put the effort in. So don't lie to yourself. Don't tell yourself that you are studying and then you are spending 2 weeks, you have not opened your USMLE book. It doesn't go like that. You need to be persistent. You need to be creature of habit, and you have to want that. Nobody can convince you, and that's the essence. You know, when we tell people get USMLE number, I come, I tell you how to do USMLE, and then I wait for you to do your exam, then I tell you, you know, how to apply for residence. It's really, it has to come from inside. Nobody can put that into you. So it's very important that you convince yourself. I tell people sometimes, our job is not really to convince you to take USMLE. I want to meet somebody who hear about USMLE, convince themselves they want to do USMLE, and then I show you how do you efficiently, effectively, and quickly do you prepare yourself and position yourself to come into graduate medical education. So as I said, there are millions of opinions online. Make your choices, stick to what works, and work. The key thing is to stick to the plan, consistency. You have to be consistent. And of course, you need to pass your exams so that you can apply. And so there are so many things online, and don't get lost there. So years from graduation, I've been talking about effectively quick preparation. Years from graduation is really an important parameter that you need to observe when you prepare. Less than 3 years is what you should focus on. I mean, the sooner you apply after finishing your medical school and finishing your internship, the better. So I cannot overemphasize. It's really, really important that you apply early, because I mean, as you go many years post-graduation, your chances decrease. They don't go to zero, but they decrease. The only way you have zero chance of matching in the graduate medical education is if you don't do USMLE. You don't do USMLE, it's a 0% chance of coming. But once you do, you have a chance, but you do it early, your chance is really good. So preparation for USMLE step 1, the cornerstone is the first aid book. And this is one of the slides which I updated from last year, where I put 2025. So first aid will bring the book every year. You have 2020. I mean, every year they'll have a new book. But once you get a book, you don't really to go for a new one. Because one thing I learned is basic science does not change that quickly. I mean, the same nerve, latassimus dorsi, the same muscle it supplies, that's what it does. It has never changed in the, you know, since when it was discovered. So it changes slowly. So the key thing is, if you get a book, just keep your book and work on it. You need to read it multiple times. By the time you're doing your exam, you should have read first aid not less than 5 times, cover to cover, let alone where you go like you want to make a quick reference and you read about something, but cover to cover, not less than 5 times. So it's a book, you annotate, you write your notes in there. By the time you're taking your exam, your first aid should have nowhere to write. It's something you have read and you understand it very clearly. So, so for medical students, get your first aid. As you're going through your medical training, you do, let's say, histology, you go to first aid, you read about histology. You know, you're studying biochemistry, you go there, you read biochemistry in the first aid. So you use it to study as you go along. And then to supplement, you can use Kaplan notes and videos, which kind of can show you can prepare you to start having what we call basic applied learning, whereby USMLE is mostly applied. So it's basic science, but applied. We don't do applied in our training. And so by using these USMLE geared materials, you'll be able to fine tune your mind to kind of be on the basic applied mode of training. So, so you use your Kaplan notes and first aid as your regular materials to kind of enrich the books that you're using. And it will help you integrate. That's what I'm trying to say. And of course, I will tell you for sure, when I was MD2 doing pharmacology, I didn't understand parasympathetic and sympathetic medications, the way the medication work in those systems. But when I came and I was watching Kaplan video and I can see those demonstrations, it kind of sticks. And that in that way, you understand the concept, and never mind how they twist the questions, you can untwist them quickly and pick up the right answer. So it's really, really important. So as a student, make deliberate effort to know medicine. Be a good student, take pride in understanding your things, being good. Your effort will pay off, because if you come, you're building a solid knowledge as a medical student, the final kind of mile run, it will be very smooth because you already have a very strong foundation. So the medical knowledge that you get as you are running and preparing for USMLE stays for you for the rest of your life. You can't imagine how many people, when I used to work one-on-one people, somebody will text me and tell me, I use USMLE to manage this patient. I talked to the patient and I came with a diagnosis. That's what it is. So it's something that you're making yourself great. You're kind of positioning yourself in there. You are knowledgeable. You're confident. And of course, when I started medical school, there was this, if you have A or you have C, you're just a doctor. That's a bad theory. If somebody is knowledgeable, my resident, I can see it. And if somebody has a shaky knowledge, you can see it, the way they manage and the way they come, the way they discuss their differentials. And so really it will help you bring strong foundation, be confident. At the end, I'll be talking about trying to find electives. So if you find elective, you go, you rotate, you present patient, they see you are knowledgeable, you're confident, and you got strong letters, you automatically be a strong resident and be a strong attending, so it's all making you good. For those people who have graduated post-medical school, either you graduated yesterday or you graduated 15 years ago, get your first aid book. Read it first, cover to cover as a novel, because you have gone through everything. Just read it page to page, just as a novel, go through it, and then come back again, read it now topic by topic, paying full attention and grasping the materials. And you start annotating your notes, kind of taking note of the key things, and of course, the medical students, even if you use first aid as you're going through different stages and you're preparing, when you come to the end, you need also to kind of go through it like topic by topic as you're kind of doing your last mile of preparation. That's really important. So for those people who are post-medical school now, I'm talking about, use Kaplan notes and read topic by topic, reading and watching corresponding videos. So you read and then you watch the videos. And when you finish that topic, you go back to first aid. Let's say you're doing biochemistry. So you read biochemistry in Kaplan, and then you watch biochemistry videos, and then you read biochemistry in the first aid. You kind of use the three to tie together. For me, for pathology, I use Goljan notes. I didn't use a Kaplan. And then, of course, you can read, of course, you read, you watch, and then you finish, and then you move on. So when you'll be doing this, sometimes you might feel like you'll see there's a lot of repetition, and that helps you build your memory as you're repeating these things and you're going through them. I don't think you should spend thousands of dollars to pay for a live class, somebody to teach you USMLE. It's really you sitting down and learning it. I believe that's the best use of your resources and your efforts. So as you are learning for this, one thing I want you to appreciate, there's no free time in the world. You need to create time, which means it comes down to how angry and determined you are. you know? So for me, when I was preparing, I used to wake up early. So I'll sleep early. Before 8, I'm sleeping, and then I will wake up by 3:45. So by 4 a.m., I'm seated on my table. I'm studying, you know? So I'll give for 3 hours to 7 a.m., and then I will kind of prepare and go to work. That so I found that morning hours to be very productive, and you know, you're fresh, your brain is fresh, you can go through a lot of material, you can grasp them a lot. What does this mean when you do this? It means you abstaining from late UEFA Championship play games, Premier League, you know, missing out, and kind of perfecting and kind of denying yourself so that you can sleep early and wake up and kind of start first. And so kind of, you know, you go through your day knowing that you have put your first 3 hours of work. So you pay yourself first, which means you will address your things, the one that you need to do. So you have to change your lifestyle and sleep early, you know? When you wake up early in the morning, don't pick up your phone and start going through your WhatsApp group. Don't waste your time. You wake up, you don't even touch your phone. You go, you start working on your craft. And then when you are done, things moves on. You know, it's very productive time when you do this early in the morning. You know, it's really a very productive time. Your brain is rested, is fresh. As I say, you grasp them very quickly. So when you come, you wake up this morning and you do your 3 hours, you'll go through the rest of the day very happy knowing you've done your work for the day. So you do 3 hours every day for 5 days a week. Those are 15 hours. But during the day, if you have time, you can squeeze in like a few more hours. 2 3 hours, and that will help you kind of, you know, catch up and finish timely. So the 3 hours morning are kind of basic hours, and then as you go through and you have more time, let's say in the evening you are not too tired, you come from work, before you sleep you can put in more, and then you sleep and you wake up and you continue doing that. So in the weekends now, you kind of give yourself more time if you have open weekends, like 8 hours consistently. And so if you find you do consistently 8 hours in the weekend plus 15 hours is 23 hours a week, you're putting in fixed, leave alone the extra hours you can add in. And this is something that you need, you know, and then Sunday you rest, you sleep early so that you wake up Monday 3:45, ready to start 4 a.m. for the cycle to go on and on again. So once, you know, you people see your commitment, they will start giving you space, you know, they will start avoiding distraction. They'll start preparing to support your cause because they already see the way you are dedicated and you're kind of, you know, going through the process. So you might think like I'll get a lot of distraction, but once they see you are in the zone, people will switch and start supporting you and trying to reduce the noise and let him, like, you know, is not coming. So and so is not coming. He's going to the library, he's working on his USMLE, and they know, like, you're not joking around. So your seriousness will kind of percolate to the rest of the community and they'll give you space. So as you're studying through, when you're studying something, let's say you're doing biochemistry or you're doing microbiology, it's normal to feel like, oh my God, I know so much microbiology, I know so much pharmacology. And then when you move along and do, like, you know, you move to 3 other topics, then you can start thinking, oh, what do I remember about the physiology I learned a month ago, you know, and you try to contemplate and you think like you don't know nothing. As long as you are keeping in the effort and the dedication, believe me, the school is in your unconscious side. It's there and it will surface up and you'll be able to use it. Don't stress out. You'll be fun. Personal reflection sometimes can make you lose faith and feel like you're not grasping anything. But as long as you're putting the dedication and the concentration, you are fine. So as I said, don't pay and sit for a class. Don't waste your money. You need to study everything systematically. You know, in the step one, you go through topics one by one: anatomy, biochemistry, physiology, microbiology, pharmacology, pathology, epi, biostat. And then when you finish, you know, you start going into the question mode. And I was like, let's say you're paying me, I'm teaching you Krebs cycle. I can use 5 minutes and walk you through this. But guess what? At the end of the day, you have to sit down and learn it. Why pay me to show you what it is? You know, this is not, medicine is not calculus. Like I'm showing different ways to solve things. It's just you kind of committing it to your memory and moving along. So for you, and these days with digital, there's so much explanation. Like you can go to YouTube, there's a concept you don't understand, you find it, somebody has discussed it somewhere. There are very good instructional videos you can watch and kind of, you know, understand something very well and be able to look at it from multiple angles, which means be able to answer questions in different settings. So once you are done reading, what I will advise is before you start questions, you take your NBME. So NBME is a National Board for Medical Examination, which kind of have USMLE style questions, which medical students do when they're doing their rotations in the US. And I will advise there are 4 blocks. They come as 4 blocks questions, and it's around $60. I'll advise very strongly as you're preparing, set money for you to pay for NBME to test yourself and see where you are. So it's $60. There are 4 sections, 50 questions each. So it's 200 questions. You know, you have to do them for like 5 hours. So you need a place where you have data, you have internet, it's quiet and distracted for 5 hours for you to do it. What does it do apart from you seeing where you are in realistic terms? Is it also prepares you to be able to grind the USMLE, where you do 7 blocks of 40 questions, around 280 questions with the 1-hour block. So you have an 8-hour session to do your exam. So when you do these NBMEs, it kind of gives you a practice. You know how to sit, because the way we train, we don't train with MCQs. It's hard for us. It's a different concept. So you have to train yourself in such a way that you are ready when you go and do the real exam. And I will give examples why that is important, you know? So you cannot train for a sprint and go and run a marathon. You will fail. So it's very important to do these questions in bulk, in volumes, so that you train yourself to be able to do that analysis. So apart from NBME, so I'll say you do one NBME when you're done with your reading. Then you start doing your questions. You finish your questions, you can do another NBME to see where you are. And NBME will tell you how do you relate to the real exams. And then, of course, you finish your preparation, you do another NBME to see if you are ready to go now and sit for the exam. So a minimum of 3 NBMEs, coming to 4 if in case you need to do a makeup, like you study a little bit more. So the best question bank is UWorld. And I think this is I'm not an agent for UWorld, but it's real, their questions are really good. You know, so even our residents, they use them to prepare for, ABME, American Board of Internal Medicine. So it's they are very good questions. And if you see the packages subscription, if you subscribe for 30 days, it's around $320. You subscribe for 90 days, it's around $439, like $440. For 180 days, it's $479. And then for a whole year, it's like $560. So, and of course, I will tell you like what packages do you have. You can look on them on UWorld. What benefits do you have? And I'll tell you shortly. The good thing about UWorld, it shows you how you score relative to other test takers. And you can also find information, how does your score in UWorld relate to the real scores in the real exam. So it really prepares you to do to take the boards, because the questions simulate the USMLE questions, and so it's really like very practical stuff. Don't expect to find a real question like the word by word in the USMLE. all the questions you will see they are new. The concepts will not be new. The concepts are the same, but the questions will be new, always. So UWorld has like 3,700 questions. And so if you do blocks of 40 questions, because a full block is 40 questions, you do 2 blocks, it will take you 47 days to finish the UWorld. And I think what I say, it take you like 90 days to real finish. And when I say real finish, I'll explain what I mean. And so, because I mean, when you finish the 47, you have to go through the questions that you got wrong. And that's where you come to real finish. So I don't think you can subscribe to UWorld for 30 days and be able to finish the questions and kind of study them well. Take the questions as mixed, all topics, and then timed, you take 2 blocks back to back when you're now in the last mile of preparation. And so this kind of prepares you to be in the test mode. You do it for 2 hours. And of course, you need no interference. So the early morning wake up becomes real ideal, whereby it's you kind of doing your test with them, but people knocking, throwing things around, shouting, and you can you go through your things. So you'll do the 2 blocks for 2 hours. And then when you finish, you start reviewing the questions that you got wrong. So go through all the questions you got wrong. So you see your answers, and then UWorld will give you explanation. Why? And it's very important you read the explanation, because that's how will make you answer the next question. You learn how you can answer 20 different questions related to that topic, because now you understand the different facets of that information. So when you're done with wrong questions, then you go the questions that you got right. And it's very important to review the questions that you got right, because sometimes you might get the question right, but you are thinking in a wrong theory. So when you read the information after, you now understand what's the right information, So this way, you keep building your knowledge and understanding different ways, and be able to answer questions, addressed from different angles in the main theme. So you try to review the 2 blocks the same day, so that the day after you can start over again with 2 blocks, So you keep moving along. So you want to review all the questions before you start taking another block, because you want to understand if a question you got wrong, you can remember. If you do correction early, you can remember what you are thinking. And that's what you want to remove and keep the right information there. So when we are in medical school, we just say somebody gives you a wrong answer, it's giving you curare, it's some kind of a poison. And so so you remove all the curares and you remain with the real information, and that's what you want. So it's really important that you go through them, you go through the information. Even if you got it right, you read the information after, you take your notes for the key things that you are trying to remember, the things that you don't know. You are looking for the things that you don't know. So if you do this, you are doing 2 blocks a day for 46 days, you kind of diligently, you finish the 3,700. Now you start creating questions using the questions that you got wrong. So UWorld allows you that. Now you create a block of 40 questions, but the questions you got wrong, you have done them, you got them wrong. And then it will give you that. And then you go through them. But now, because some of them you read and you retained, you are getting them right, but others will keep getting them wrong, because probably the information did not stick. And you do the same way. You go through the questions that you got wrong, and then you go through the questions that you got right, and kind of wind down and move quickly, churn the questions that you got wrong, and you keep doing it. And as you are going through, you try to think of concepts that are hard for you to grasp. If you're talking about different cases of shocks, where the volume is high, the volume is low, is vasodilated, where is it? So kind of trying to annotate those and put them down in such a way that you're committing them to memory. So that is really, really important. Why do I think doing 2 blocks is the best idea? It's because you build stamina. you know, that's how you're gonna be examined. So when you keep doing this, as you are doing these two blocks, as you're doing the blocks, yeah, you're doing your test like in the blocks of 40s, you'll be getting your scores for each block. And UWorld will be kind of creating a dot chart showing you can see how your scores are climbing if you are building up your knowledge as you are getting ready for the test. So it really shows you how it's going. You can compare yourself to other test takers. You can see which topics you're not doing well. You know, you can see which topics you're not doing well. And actually last year, Dr. Minja shared like for them, for weekend, they used to simulate like the entire exam where you find time and you do 7 blocks back to back to back with short breaks in between, just the way you will do on the exam day, you know? So when you do that, then you can be able to know, because if you just do a question in a in a tutorial mode where you do and get the answer there and then, that's not how the exam goes. You know, you get immediate gratification. You don't know, even you can't wait even to the end of block to see how things goes. Really, it doesn't prepare you. So I did this, I prepared this way. And when I was doing my step 1, I could finish my blocks with 8 to 12 minutes for each block. You know, there's no block which took me and made me remain with less than 8 minutes. And guess what? When I finished, I had questions that I had highlighted. I could go reread them again, try to make up my mind. And then the other time we're going to break, I'll go in between blocks, go out, stretch, come and do another block like it's completely new. So it's very good when you have conditioned yourself and you can go through them, finish them timely, because then you can use the time to maximize.
Before you go to the next thing, I would just want to kind of emphasize a little bit here on this point that you're making. And in all of these standardized tests, you really have to pace yourself, right? This is not about testing for your intelligence, right? This is not how smart you are. This is not a judgment on your medical school and any of that. You have to study for this test. And basically, you have to study for this test. So that's why simulating the conditions as close as possible to what the exam is going to be is the most effective way for you to study for these tests. And by the way, I'm in the radiology field, and we also have like board examinations, and it's exactly the same thing. And usually the students who fail radiology boards are usually the most smartest, usually they're PhD types. And these are the type of people who feel like, you know, I have a PhD in whatever, MRI. Why do I need to study for radiology boards? It should come easy for me, right? So you're sort of arrogant about the test. But the test is designed in a very specific way. And unless you study for it in these ways in which we're sort of insisting on simulation, we're insisting on practice tests, we're insisting on you going back and reviewing the questions you get wrong, you're not going to pass. Even though you're very intelligent, even though you may have a master's and a PhD, you're still going to fail this test. And this repeats itself both for SATs, repeats itself for MCATs, it repeats itself for USMLE, it repeats itself for like radiology boards. Standardized examinations are their own sort of animal, right? And basically, the more and more you study for it in these sort of structured ways, you're going to learn there's a certain logic, there's a certain way in which they ask questions, and you're going to be able to anticipate, right? If they're giving me this kind of hint, chances are they're suggesting this, and therefore, but you're not going to gain that just by like reading books. That's only going to come from you practicing tests. So this is the idea of you trying to say, hey, I'm a good runner, therefore I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning, go run the marathon. It's not going to work. You have to practice. I mean, those are the kind of people basically at somewhere around like mile 15, they just crash because basically you haven't spent the time practicing it. The last point, Dr. James, while it's still fresh in my mind, I want to emphasize is as you're pacing yourself, you must allow 1 day of rest every week, right? This is a very important point also, because on neuroscience, right, most of the conceptual learning happens either when you're asleep or when you're not actively studying, right? So it's important for you to sleep, also have like regular periods of sleep, but also have a day off. It's a very important concept. In your day off, that is the time for your brain to kind of basically trying to make associations that are going to help you learn conceptual things, right? So you can use the 6 days to, and if you work really hard 6 days a week, trust me, you will need a day of rest, right? So this is also the other idea. And if you do that, and when you rest, like let's say it's a Saturday or Sunday, and you take completely off, when Monday arrives, you're eager to get back to like learning, right? So people may feel that that day of rest is a waste of time, but it's actually a well-proven part of learning. That's why sleep is important, part of like learning, and also taking a single day off from active learning. Like you should be doing something else that is not reading a book. I don't know, going to movies, going to whatever, hanging out with your friends, playing soccer, I don't know, going to church, going to a mosque, but you got to take a day off when you're not actively studying for the boards. Over, back to you, James.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those points. So as you are doing through this, you will see like there are topics which you're not doing well. UL will show you. So you try. Why is that? Probably you don't have enough knowledge. So try to read about the topic, get the concepts clearly, continue reading the explanation and expand your knowledge. And so by doing that, then you can keep, by the end of the day, you have done all the 3705 questions in UWorld, and you have 100%, which means you have gone through every question and you have got it right. Probably some question you repeated them 5 times, but at the end of the day, you have all of them right. That's the good use of your UWorld. You have used your UWorld, you have done justice to your money when you have gone through them and you have done through that. So when you do a 90 days subscription, they give you one self-assessment. A self-assessment is 4 blocks of questions that are prepared by UWorld that you take at some point, and usually people take them after they have gone through all the questions to see how they score. And there's correlation online. You can find how you do on the assessment of the UWorld compared to how you will do in the real test. And then if you do a 180 days, which is 6 months, they'll give you one reset. What does it mean? It's like you can have a 6-month subscription, which means you are still studying and using your UWorld. And so you can be doing them, let's say as you're studying, you're doing them by topics, the questions, and you're going through. And then when you finish studying, you reset and you start taking your question now in block mode. It's like when you reset, it's like all questions come like undone. So you start doing all the questions over again. So, it's how people will use it and kind of, be able to go and be able to do your question. And the 180, they'll give you 2 assessment tests. So they'll give you 2 blocks of 2 tests of 4 blocks each. So for you to use. So what if you think you're not ready? Because it's not uncommon for, the most skilled people to doubt yourself. So what thing I want you to ask yourself, is this a feeling or an opinion? Is this an objective or just an opinion? A feeling or an objective opinion. So how do you do it? Is compare how you do. That's where NBME come in. You take NBME, it shows you are crushing it. You're in the 90th percentile. You are like 20 points above the cutoff point. You are ready to take your test, So that's where this kind of self-testing way comes through. And make sure you do NBME. There are free versions online. Don't touch them. Pay the $60 and do the real thing so that you can really make a good comparative. In the online, you can take your NBME scores, your UWorld scores. There are apps you can plug them, and they can show you how much you will score in the real exam. So it's there, it's comparative. I tell people this is one exam which when you go, you are sure that you're gonna pass when you're prepared well. So you need like 9 months to prepare yourself. It's not a short stint. It's not like a 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month to go and do it. You need almost like 9 months of real dedication, preparing diligently for you to be able to go. And I think this time can be shorter if you, as a medical student, you know it early from MD1 and you come building all this knowledge as you come along, but still you need the intense part. It might not be 9 months, but close to 6 months there. I think is the time you'll need to do. So the last intense preparation, as I say, apply even to the medical students, because you need to kind of, as Dr. Minja put it, you know, you have to be in the test mode to prepare yourself to be able to take the test. The things that I outlined for step 1 also apply for step 2 CK, where now in CK you do internal medicine, ped surgery, now you're doing the medical specialties. But what I want you to appreciate is 60% of CK is internal medicine. So, and in real sense, in all this, if you put the efforts, the numbers don't lie. I mean, you real score according to how you have prepared, and there's no way, as I said before, you can fluke. So this was my situation room. This was my study room and my office when I was preparing for USMLE. You can see I have my sticker notes, the things which were confusing me. I'll print them whenever I walk around, I can see them. The yellow stickers are kind of high yield stuff. You know, I'm standing around, I can peep at it. You know, I'm trying to kind of commit it to my memory. So you come here, these were my UWorld preparation test. I did, I can see the way I scored them, I have them there. And then I found this app whereby I can put my MBME, my UWorld continuous assessment, and my UWorld assessment test, and kind of gave me a rough score where I'll be. And believe me, it varied just by 4 points. You know, these are the scores you are talking, ranging from 205 to 299, close to 300. It varied only by 4 points. So they are very precise. And my daughter was then like 5 years. I think she did a handprint and I had it in my office. Kind of, you know, you need to aspire yourself. You know, you are here, you're waking up early, it's cold, you're committing yourself. You have to have a purpose, you know. It's not like I want a better life for my child. You know, that's my commitment for me to kind of, you know, work hard. So it's really I'm a creature of habit. I like studying in the same style, but it's really, you have to take notes, put things down, try to document in such a way that you keep committing yourself. I mean, you're vested in, and that's how you make yourself better. So as much as I spent time talking about how to prepare for USMLE, the USMLE itself really is not hard. And I bolded it and kind of put it under inverted commas, as long as you prepare as required. And I could not as put it well as I like the interjection from Dr. Minja when he talked about these standardized tests. You know, in our countries, we don't do standardized tests. People in the US, they start doing from early. My son is 11th grade, is doing SAT, you know? So they do SAT, they do MCAT to go to medical school, they go to graduate school, they do GREs. So they have been using standardized tests, which we don't. We do short answer questions. We don't do these long standardized exams. So you have to prepare in such a way that you do that. And I say the exam is not hard because the US medical graduates, 98% passes the exam in the first attempt. 98%. So only 2% fails. So for US medical graduates, those who fail the steps, they have some underlying problem. They have some crisis they are going through, or some issues, or like whatever, or they don't listen and they just go there and kind of flunk it. But 98% of people pass. You know how much percentage of people passes the American Board of Internal Medicine exam? 85%. So 15% fails. USMLE, only 2% fails. So if you prepare well, as I said, and you use the tools that I showed you, and you assess yourself in the way and know where you are, this is the exam you walk in, knowing you're gonna pass, and you know a range of what you're gonna score. So it's very important. So make sure you factor in those preparative stuffs, and you prepare well, and you use those standardized tests, make them as part of your cost, and so that you can prepare and know. So so that you can know that you're gonna pass. So don't, if you pass, you fail the exam, it appears as an attempt in your transcript, and it kind of lower your chances of matching, because it shows like, you know, you don't have attention to detail. I mean, only 2% of people fails. So you're part of the 2%. I mean, anyway, if you fail, and it's step 1, which is pass fail, you can wrap up, you prepare, you make sure CK you pass real well. But you don't have to, because we have shown you what you need to do to pass. You know, that's the essence of being here. So real my heart breaks when people text me and they tell me, you know what, I've failed. I took my exam, I failed. You know, and and the first question I ask them when people send me like this is, how did you prepare? This person read first aid once. So the one, you know, read page to page once and went and take the exam. Do you remember I said how many times you need to read first aid by the time you're going? 5 times page to page. And in the key concepts, you probably have gone more times because there are things which you need to reinforce back and forth. So the first thing I do, I told her, okay, go and listen to 201 and tell me what I said, how you should read. And then they go and they write clearly what I said, how you should, but you didn't do it. They didn't even subscribe for UWorld. You know, they just did the questions online and went there. And guess what? When they went, the first time is facing the test, is in the exam, is panicking, cannot finish the questions, you know, cannot read. I mean, these questions, some of them are 2 pages long. As Professor Minja said, when you are doing the UWorld in the test mode, you kind of learn how to decipher, to kind of look and know what's the chaff and what is the meat. What are to kind of quickly, in few seconds, to come to the conclusion and pick up the answer and move forward. So there's no way, you know. And then after that, I hope you saw the standard deviation in the scores. So here, this is the pass mark. That's the cutoff. This person was here, almost in the 4th standard deviation. What happens when you do that? USMLE bans you from doing the exam for 1 year. So you see, he's texting me now, got USMLE, letter from USMLE say I've been suspended for 12 months. And why do they do that? It's because the way you fail, they think you are not a doctor, probably you're a plumber from a certain country, and probably your father is a minister who bribed around. They know, oh, being a physician in the US is good. Give my son a medical degree, they can go and do it. And that's how you score. So for them giving you a year, they want to make sure that you prepare, you didn't go there hastily. And if you keep scoring the same, USMLE has a mandate. They have, it's not, the exam is not given. They can suspend you from taking their test. What you are doing, you are messing with people's standard deviation. You are bringing scores that don't exist. So it's very important. I read about this policy being there. I didn't believe that it exists until I saw it happening to a person. And so this person, I'm sharing these charts as a teaching method, because when I was chatting with this candidate, he or she, I'm not gonna use the gender like whatever, was like, I didn't know about this. You didn't tell us. I'm like, I can't tell you everything, you know? And I'll say, okay, I'm gonna do your job. I'm gonna make sure I tell them and grill them down. They need to prepare well and go and pass, because if you don't, this is what happens. You can even be suspended. So I did exactly what I told her. I'm gonna make sure make sure that I give you the information of what is going on. So for CK preparation, when done with step 1, you know, you have taken the test, 3 to 4 weeks, the results to come, relax, don't do anything, you know, unwind, you know, you get your results, you pass, you have rested for a month, flip the gear and start CK. Now, if you prepared well for step 1, in 6 months, you can be ready to do CK. And believe me, there's a lot of step 1 in CK. So although step 1 is pass-fail, make sure you prepare real well, because it will help you score well in the CK. So that's the secret behind. And CK is a scored exam, and it's so important that you score well. The median American graduate now, the score is 240. When I was doing the test, the median of American medical graduates was 225. So the scores are going up. So you can find this information online. So it's important when you are taking this test to ensure that you either beat or you are there or you beat the median of American medical graduates.
Dr. James, naomba kuongezea tu hapo. So part of this, people have, when they're preparing for USMLE, imagine you're preparing for taking care of American patients, right? So part of this, people feel like, hey, I'm trying to decipher the USMLE exam. But this is the job you'll be doing as an intern. You have to sit through the medical record and find the information that will help you to make clinical decisions. So really think of these tests as basically preparing you to actually take care of patients. I know sometimes people feel that the exam is just the exam for me to come and practice in the US. The exam is testing you. Can you function in an American medical system? If I put you in a hospital and I have you admit a patient, can you figure out what's going on wrong with the patient? Can you ask the right questions? Can you order the right labs? Can you, decipher what those labs mean and so forth? So especially for our colleagues who are doing medical school outside the US, it's very, very important because basically, as you're learning the USMLE, it's also helping you to become a good medical doctor. It's going to help you become a better medical doctor. And that's actually a major incentive for us to actually do these sessions, because as a student at Muhimbili who was really, for their first 2-3 years, they've studied like step 1 and they walk into the wards, they're sometimes maybe even closer to where the attending is or the registrar is, because they're actually applying pure medical science. They're not guessing. They're not like, hey, what would you do here? Well, you have all the data, you have all the clinical science and so forth. So I think part of this preparation, people have to understand this is really that exams are designed to help you become a better medical student and therefore become a better intern, a better doctor, and so forth. So there's passing, but also this knowledge is practical knowledge that can be applied over.
So the Master the Board is the first aid for CK. Conrad Fisher is a program director in New York. He's the author. And it's really what you'll need to prepare for CK as the way you use first aid. This, as I said, your scores really determine where you go. These are median scores of matched and unmatched American medical graduates who matched in different specialties. And you can see like the most sort of specialties are the one which have the highest scores, like plastic surgery, orthopedic surgery, dermatology. And you can see the deep blue are the matched candidates, and these are unmatched. And you can see there's difference between those in scores between those who matched and who did not match. So if you love something, you're looking for a certain specialty, you have to be able to look at this and you know where your target is. You don't get 220 and then you tell me you want to do dermatology. Nobody's gonna even look at you. American medical graduates are matching with 255. So at some point, and this is real about demand and supply, who wants that? Because I remember when I was doing medical school, we just had 2 medical schools. I think that's when KSMC was starting and Muhimbili was there. And all top PCB students used to go to Muhimbili. It's not that you need Division 1 4 points to go and do medicine, but it's because the Division 1 4 points wants medicine, and you with your 2 of 12, although you can do medicine, but there's no place for you. That's the same way it applies. So for you, passing well, really as an IMG, puts you in a prime position. And really adjust your expectation according to your scores. And so you know what you want, and then you work towards that. So use the resources available multiple times. Of course, if you fail step 1, it's not the end of the world. Go back, make sure you don't fail for the second time, and ensure that step 2 you pass real well, And so most people fail due to lack of strategy and not preparing well. You have all the strategies, and that's what you need to stick to. You cannot really fail. And as I said, 98% of American graduates passes. So it's really the strategy win walls. You cannot read Snell and Harrison and go and pass USMLE. There's no way. Even if you know it cover to cover, you won't do it. So you have to prepare, and that's what we show you, and we should be able to do well and do well. So make sure you know the ropes and prepare well, you pass well and quickly. As I said, it's really important that you apply early from your graduation. Of course, you position yourself to be able to match for the graduate medical education. So for medical students, explore possibility of doing electives in the US, where to kind of bring you rotate, you see patients and kind of familiarize yourself. You get to meet attendees, you get reference letters, you know, demonstrate interest and build network. I mean, attending will go to different places. I've shared examples of people who will meet attending in Tanzania. They work together, they get to know them, they give them reference letters, or in Uganda, and they end up coming for residence. So make it deliberate to meet people, demonstrate interest, and be there, be present, you know, be a good medical student and eventually a good physician. So let's continue to engage through USMLE Pursuit. All questions, every discussion should go through there. Don't Google us. You know, around May 2025, I'll talk about residency application, and this will be for the people who have done step 1 and step 2. So if you are done, for those people who will listen to this, send us your results, and then we'll put you for there. And so last year, I think I just talked to like 8 people. I don't care even if I talk to 6 people. We'll just have an open panel. You have to have your skin in the game. If you don't do, why should I talk about matching and the challenges? You have not even done your exam. So keep encouraging each other. You know, it's a community thing. We really to stick to each other, help each other, be open. It's a big pot. There's no way anybody can impair your chances. You are the only one who can impair yourself. You know, as I said, USMLE 101 is free. November this year, we'll have one-on-one when the new medical school opens. This is open, we'll advertise. Then we'll have 201 around February, like we are having now. And of course, 301 that will be doing in May, as I said, as people are planning this. We expect this cycle to repeat and kind of keep getting people to be involved. And so send USMLE Pursuit. That's your key thing. You know, 301, as I said, are for people who have done. And real sense, what you are trying to do is let nature take its course. Those people who are moving, will support them people. Those people who are lagging behind, we'll let them stay. You know, we move on and that's it. But the key thing is to reach the unreachable and help many people. So in our email, in the USMLE Pursuit, we place people in groups. I mean, are you ECFMG certified? Where are you? And kind of we move along. You have done step 1, you have done this. This was last year. I've updated a lot. The numbers are different. I didn't change it, but it's easy to help people in a group. It really back and forth wastes a lot of time and takes crucial time from helping other people and moving on. And so I'll need 2 volunteers from each country. If you want to volunteer, just email me at USMLE Pursuit, kind of to help us. When we go, we are trying to reach people next year. We can send the advert to you. You can make sure it goes to the Students Association. You know, I'm very sad. Last year, we had almost like 20, 30 people from Rwanda. This year, we don't have any. I don't know what happened. But, you know, it's keep encouraging each other, keep helping each other, make a decision, you know. Nyerere said, kupanga ni kuchagua. To plan is to choose. So if you choose to do USMLE, you convince yourself, go and do it. You know, you are the only one who gonna make that decision. And of course, if you make it, we are here to support you and make sure, you know, you can move forward and be able to do. So I hope to see some of you May 2026, May 2027, most of you, if you're done and you're applying, and you know, that's how we move forward. Thank you very much. And yeah, Dr. Minja, back to you.
Asante sana, Dr. James. That was a whirlwind tour. Lakini naona umemaliza kila kitu. I don't think there's much that we can sort of cover, and I really hope our participants will share any questions they may have. Really, we have about 38 participants. That means we should have at least 38 questions. So if you guys just came here to be entertained, to see Dr. James, Dr. Ignas, Dr. Barbara just like yap around for like 2 hours, then you're really wasting your time, because you could have just slept and watched this on YouTube. The really advantage for you to be here is the opportunity to ask live questions and ask things that, you know, other people may be thinking about. And trust me, any question you have, chances are 30 other people have exactly the same question. So a big part of the American education have the courage to actually speak up and ask questions and seek knowledge. And so really, even when you come to the wards, we like residents who ask questions. We like interns who ask questions because you know that you're actually engaged and you actually are looking for something. So, and so that can be a really good use for the next 45 minutes or so. So we'll allow Dr. Barbara and Hesbon to maybe give about 5 minutes each for just comments and other things to add. And then we'll go to Q&A. If there are no questions, we'll stop exactly in 10 minutes. So you know, we're here for your benefit. But if the participants feel that everything is absolutely clear and they don't feel like they want to ask questions, then also we will, you know, take another 30 minutes to continue with the rest of stuff. So karibuni sana, karibu Dr. Barbara for your 5 minutes. Karibu.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining today. Dr. Koola, that was impeccable. I just wish I was in this opportunity where I was still in med school and I had your talk. I would be so happy. I'm sure everybody already knows me, so I'm not going to go through a long chat about my journey, but just a summary. I'm Barbara Odak from Kenya, went to Kenyatta University for my medical school, and then pivoted did my MPH at Yale University. After that, I joined residency. So I'm currently in a combined internal medicine and preventive medicine program. And I'm currently in my 3rd year. So my 3rd year is essentially a research year, stroke doing classes at Yale, stroke doing what I love. So I'm really enjoying it. But just to reemphasize what Dr. Koola talked about, it's about just getting the right resources. Don't overburden yourself with a million resources. So the resources is talked about are what's adequate to get you the results that you need. So don't overburden with having like 5 textbooks that will just waste your time, honestly. So first aid and UWorld are essentially staple for step 1. And then number 2, set a deadline and follow through. Because if you don't set a deadline and you don't schedule your exam, you end up not ever doing this exam. And the unfortunate truth is that the more you delay, the more it costs. If you subscribe to UWorld, if it's past the 90 days you set, past the 180 days, you have to keep renewing your resources. So once you set a schedule for yourself, at least you have a goal, you know where you're going, and then you're also able to utilize your resources and save your money. This is a time where there are so many audiovisual resources, because I remember when I was going to my clinical year, there's a doctor on YouTube called Dr. Paul Bolin, and he had gone through all the internal medicine lecture series. So I just sat down and I listened to all the lectures because I'm very audiovisual. And by the time I was getting into my clinical year, I had gone through all the internal medicine that I needed. I mean, don't ask me now, but then I'd gone through all the resources that I needed. So we're really at a time where the world is an open book. If you do not understand a concept, go online and just find a lecture and listen into it. So we're very fortunate in that event. So also find ways to just supplement your education if you feel like there are concepts that are perhaps difficult to understand. And then this is a financial commitment. So research and know what will it cost me to do this exam so that you're able to set aside the money, because it's definitely not cheap, especially coming from sub-Saharan Africa. So it's really an investment of time. It's an investment commitment-wise. It's an investment financially. Just so do your homework and start saving for that. Or if your parents can support you, even better. And I think some of the positives that I've gained as a resident here in the US that probably I wouldn't have being in Kenya, as that this has allowed me to be in a specialty like preventive medicine, where I really love, because I'm essentially very public health at heart. If you're from Kenya, hi. I went to internship at Tenwek Hospital, and I remember one time I was in the field playing tennis. I'm not a player, but I was just playing with my friend. And I remember saying, one day I want to do public health. And it's not something that's really popularly done. Like it's for many reasons, in Kenya at least. I remember saying that because I just wanted to do more than treat. I'm so prevention oriented and I'm so solution oriented. And it was just such a dream from this very naive Kenyan girl. But, I stuck to it. I followed through and I'm fortunate to have done my MPH at a school that's really inspired me, like at Yale. So I'm fortunate for that opportunity, and there are very many subspecialties that are open with people who do great things in the world. So that's really opened me to that sector. So I'm so fortunate for that. It's also opened me to the ability to carry out research. I'm currently working with in a clinical trial that's working with blood pressure population in the underserved communities around us. So it's given me the ability to just see the conception of clinical trials that end up being this huge journal papers that you read about in like the NEGM. So I'm fortunate for that opportunity. And also I've been able to go to conferences and far and wide to the point that now when I hear a conference, I'm just like, oh my gosh, because these opportunities are there for us to grab. And especially being African, we have to be we're really aggressive in nature in terms of getting opportunities. So it's opened me to that opportunity to be able to go for them. And a lot of them usually are financially covered. So that's been amazing. And then it's obviously you're paid. So that's a huge thing that I'm also grateful for. So these are just some of the opportunities that perhaps we're not really privy to when we do our postgraduate education in our countries. But this is also a session for information finding. So I never want to be misconstrued or us as in general that we're trying to drain doctors from our country. This is just an information finding session where if it's what you want, at least you can explore and you can know how best to do it to succeed. And the last thing I'll finish off is just networking. When I was doing my USMLE, I was a loner. Trying to read, trying to figure out from the internet, like, how do I do this? Trying to navigate, because I've shared this before. I was the first person in my university to ever go through all the hoops, finish my USMLE, and eventually apply and get into residency. So the opportunity to have a network around you is so invaluable because some of my colleagues are coming from countries in Asia. And these guys, as soon as they step into medical school, they know where they're coming. They have groups, they have study sessions, they encourage each other. So if you're able to get one or two people to encourage you to go through this journey together, even better. If you're not, it's still okay. You can still make it. I know someone who graduated mid-December, December 10th. They just passed, they told me this week they passed their USMLE step one. So it's very possible to do it. But if you're a person who needs a community of people around you, take advantage of it. So thank you so much again, and looking forward to success stories from this group.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Very, very nice. And thank you for bringing it and making it very, very real. I like your stuff about networking being a very important part of this. I completely resonate that many secondary school students in Tanzania, probably in Kenya, or O level, A level, have the habit of just studying alone, right? Like the best students probably just like study alone. They don't want to be distracted and whatnot. But I think with studying for the STEP exams, having a group, like a small group, I think can be very, very helpful. Discussing questions and whatnot can be actually a very useful way of just understanding how understanding concepts, right? So facts, I think all of us can memorize the facts, but the conceptual stuff, I think having discussions can really, really help. So I see some folks are dropping questions in the chat, so that's really, really great. We will return to those right after Husband speaks. So Husband, let's give us your 5 minutes, and then we'll bring the panel to begin addressing any questions in the chat. And anybody who wants to ask a question live, you're also welcome. Just raise your hand, and we'll be happy to call you on to ask your question. Karibu, Husband.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Husband Magacha. I'm originally from Tanzania. I went to Tabora Boys for high school, and after that, I went to Cuba for medical school. And when I was in Cuba, it's where I met some people that brought this idea about the USMLE. And it's when I started preparing for USMLE Step 1. I did Step 1 just after just after finishing medical school, just like 1 month after medical school. And then I came here to the US, then I did my Step 2, and that's where the whole process of application started. But I wish during my application I had this kind of mentorship you guys are having right now. Bringing up this kind of conversation, having people tell you guys and show you how to prepare USMLE and what you have to go through. Your USMLE and the whole process of preparing for a US residency is quite challenging. There's a lot of things you have to go through, and you have to accept that it's a very, very challenging process, and the exams are very difficult. It's not an easy process. First of all, you have to invest your time. You have to it can be quite expensive from the whole process of prep because you have to buy those UWorld Q banks, you have to buy NBMEs, you have to pay for the USMLE exams themselves, which is like $1,000. So you spend some good amount of money on that, and I know for quite a lot of people, especially from the country that I'm from in Tanzania, that can be a lot of money. So you don't really have to think of how is this all gonna happen? Because when I was preparing for the USMLE, I was like, where am I gonna get all this money from? But at the end of the day, I did it, and it was quite challenging. But today I'm here. I'm in the second year of my residency. Just got 1 more year to go, and then planning to do GI. I don't even remember back like preparation for USMLE, what I went through, how much I spent. I don't even remember that. But the whole thing is that just focus, be yourself, because you be facing a lot of things, especially if you check on the internet or you listen to people. Some people will be discouraging you. They'll be telling you that USMLE is not for everybody. I've had quite a lot of people that say they got discouraged by some other people during this whole process. But some of them that finished residency, some of them they're attending somewhere, or they're doing fellowship somewhere. It's because they didn't want to listen to people who were discouraging them. So I would advise you do the same thing. Just don't listen to what some other people say. If you decided you want to pursue residency, just go through this, get yourself ready, do your questions. It can be very tough. I mean, you have to do quite a lot of questions for like I know like for just step 1, there's like 3,000 or 4,000 questions. And you have to make up a schedule for you to do that. There is some other things you have to give up because you need time. You need enough time for yourself to be well prepared for these exams. Don't just rush into doing the exams, as we can see the examples with Dr. Koola just shared with us. Just somebody thinking you're ready for the exam, and then you go there, you fail, and then you get suspended for the whole year. So that's why we have UWorld, QBank is just for you to prepare yourself, and then you have the self-assessment exam to see how well you're prepared for the exam itself. So take your time. Don't just rush, because if you fail, that will be on your records that you failed step 1 or step 2, and that can sometimes affect your chances of getting interviews for residency. So make sure that the very first chance that you have, use it. If you have every kind of resources that you need, make use of those resources and make sure you pass the exam once you go in there. And don't just score few points above the passing mark. Try your best to be above the mean level. So we are here. I mean, you don't really need a lot of things, but just be yourself, focus, and get the self-determination that you want to do. USA, you want to pursue the residency in the US. And if you have any questions, just please reach out to the email that Dr. Kula provided, and we'll be glad to help you. We are here, and I know it was quite challenging for me because I didn't have a lot of people advising me, but now I'm here to help you guys for anything that you need.
Thank you very much, Husband, for mentioning that. And this is really the reason here that we're here. The information, as Dr. Ignas said, is widely available, 10 million of videos. And Barbara's point about sticking to a few sources really resonates, because even in radiology, we used to have what are called recalls from examinations. And so people recall, like, the radiology boards, and there'll be videos and videos and videos. And literally, at some point, people had like several megabytes and gigabytes of basically recordings that even if you just stayed and watched all the videos, you would take like 3 years to basically just get through all the videos. So at some point, it's not the quantity of information that you're collecting or the number of sources that you're collecting, but just focusing on high quality content and also following a very structured sort of regimen. So again, I think like the analogy to sort of training for the marathon is probably the more appropriate thing here. There is a way to train for it, and you don't have to invent it. You just have to follow it and execute. So it's really about execution, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people is a really big part of that process, because it can be very lonely as you're sort of doing this, and it doesn't have to be that way. And I think that's why we're being very intentional about creating these cohorts. Also, that's why we didn't open up this Zoom to everybody. Basically, you have to kind of cross a certain threshold, so that way we're talking to people who are reasonably serious and at least have crossed a certain threshold to get to USMLE 201. So I guess now for the last half hour, maybe we can focus on the questions that are sort of in there. And then if anybody, again, wants to ask their questions live, you're very welcome to do that. So maybe we'll just go down the questions and have you guys respond, even though you're responding in the chat, but just for sake of getting on record, we can go down the questions. So we'll go back and forth between Barbara and Hesbon, and Ignas, you can chime in if you want to add on. So Barbara and Hesbon, you guys can just take somebody asking about USCE or research opportunities after doing step 1 or after doing both step 1 and step 2. I don't even know what USC.
United States clinical experience.
Clinical experience. All right, sounds good. So Barbara, what do you want to say about that?
I think Hesbon answered this, so let me refer to him. Yeah.
I would advise that if you want to come for US clinical experience, it will be a good time for you after you do your step 2. Some people, people that I know who've been here for clinical experience, they come here when they are doing their step 3. Like, because step 3, you can only do it in the US. So once you come here, you're doing, after your step 2, you're getting ready or you're writing your step 3, so you can have those couple months for US clinical experience. So better after step 2.
I'll just chip in a little bit. The US clinical experience is important. And it's real kind of makes you separate your application from the rest. And you'll approach it different ways. If you're a medical student and your university has an exchange program, trying to find out what it takes, prepare yourself that way in such a way that you have a very competitive chance of getting into that. If you can't and you have the resources, and so find out the one which you can pay private and come and do. There are people who are studying in China, they're studying in Eastern Europe, they are paying $10,000 a year for their fees. Paying $3,000, $4,000 to do rotation in the US is just a peanut. So do it. But if your resources are really limited, that's where you look at yourself. Then that's where you consider, like towards the end, when you have done step 1 and you are coming to do step 3, and then you do the clinical rotation and step 3, and then you have your application in. So you try to see where you are, what resources you have, and then kind of trying to maximize to give yourself the best shot possible.
That's a great point, James. This boils down to exposure. All right. So the earlier you get the exposure, the better off you are. So again, this is also why we're trying to reach out to MD1, MD2 students, so they can have this in the back of their mind even before they basically do step 1. During medical school, after I guess 3rd or 4th year, you may have an opportunity in one of the summers to come to the US or come to the UK and just get an experience outside your country in terms of having these clinical experiences. I think that is something that's very useful to kind of look into, and it would really put you in a very good situation in terms of networking. The other point of it is also many times we have visiting volunteer faculty from other universities coming to medical schools in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and so forth. Attach yourself to those teams, because you may get exposed to just how do people think, how do they run their rounds, and so forth. That's already kind of giving a step up in terms of how to think about clinical experience in the US. Great answers. So I think that was great. And somebody is coming about BNB video, UWorld of first aid. This is a question about sources, Barbara. Can you weigh in on that? I don't know what BNB video is.
You know what PNP video is? Unfortunately.
It's more than beyond. Yeah. It's another kind of videos, because there's Kaplan videos and boards and beyond. One Kaplan video is just like 4 hours, and boards and beyond, they can have 20 minutes, 30 minutes videos. So
okay. So BNB is basically shorter video
yes.
clips versus like a longer explanation.
Yeah, so it depends what you use. But most people prefer boards and beyond because they're short, 20 minutes. They go straight to the point. But Kaplan has a lot of one video is 4 hours to 5 hours.
Really? All right. Can you write the long form of BNB in the chat so people know?
Boards and beyond. So
boards and beyond. Boards and beyond. All right. So perfect. So Wilbur, you have a longer question here, Wilbur, from you.
Yeah. So before that, there's a question. There's somebody who asked, if you have UWorld, do you need NBME? So kind of asking that. So these are two different things. Let me discern them very clearly. So UWorld is like 3,700 questions. You need to go through all of them. You need to do them, at the end when you are preparing in block mode, test, kind of put in a test mode, everything else. NBME is standalone, like 4 blocks. And I say you use this to check yourself. How ready are you? And when I look at this, and let me reinforce even more, the NBME you can pay $340. The NBME is $60. So let's say you do 4 tests is $240. So this is like close to $600. The exam is $1,000. So if you just save money for the exam and go do 1,000 and you fail, you lose $1,000. So just think through and kind of really make sure you have these resources to support you through, because they serve different purposes. So the NBME kind of simulate the exam, and you want to take NBME just before you go for the exam, when you're, towards the end of the last month, because then you can really gauge where you are. And I worked with one of the candidates who is an intern this year. It's called Habib. He couldn't join. It's 6 a.m. Instead time. It's 5 in the central where he is. So he kind of gave him a pass. But Habib, I was working with him one-on-one. And initially when he did, his score was like 225. I'm like, no, that's too close. That is too low. Keep working, keep working, keep working. Actually, he came to score in his NBME. He scored 256, and in the exam he scored 253. But it really reflects closer to the exam when you do the real one, and it's a bonus going to take the exam knowing you're gonna pass and how you're gonna pass, because everything dictates what will happen for the future of your life. I cannot overemphasize how important this is.
Awesome. Great points, Dr. Ignas. Great points. If I'm distilling the question from Wilbur from Uganda, is how to balance studying for step 1 and university exams. He's saying that basically when they take a break to study for the university exams, MUHAS or Kenyatta or whatever, aren't they gonna forget everything about step 1?
I want to jump to this question. And knowledge stays. As long as you're doing it well, the knowledge stays there. And the key thing, I don't want you to lose the focus, is you need to finish medical school for you to come for USMLE. So it's important during those exams, you kind of take a break, prepare as your professors want to answer those short notes questions and matching questions, and go and nail those exams, because you need to have your MD degree for you to be able to do your USMLE. And one thing I talked on step 1, which I didn't talk about today, I need to reinforce it to you guys. Don't try to do step 1 before you do clinicals, because most of the exams in step 1, if you are not there, listen to the video again. I give an example of a question. Although it's basic science, it involves you making diagnosis. which we don't do because we do our training in silos. The first 3 years, you don't do any clinicals, and then boom, 4th year, you start doing clinical. While in the US, they start integrating from day one. So it's for you, it's good that you take step 1 when you are like in the 5th year, you have done your clinicals, or / you have been in the world. There's a student also who took the exam when they finished their 3rd year and failed, and kind of letting me, oh, I took the exam, I failed. I'm like, you are 3rd year medical student in KCMC. You have not really, you cannot make diagnosis of sickle cell dactylitis. It's not you. You are not there yet. So it's really important that you do the clinicals and kind of helps you integrate, but keep studying. When it's due for the test, study for what you need, pass your test, but keep preparing and keep building your knowledge. It will work out.
So basically, I guess, Dr. What you're saying is, if we have, let's say here, MD1 students who are sort of on this journey, is that we are basically saying that you have 5 years to prepare for step 1 and to also prepare for step 1 as you are going through your medical school, right? As opposed to kind of waiting until you finish medical school and doing a crash course of 9 months and trying to like learn everything about step 1. So that's the major advantage, basically, right? So you have that advantage of basically doing this over time, and also as you're going through medical school, instead of like doing this after you've graduated from medical school. Oh, I can do residence in the US. Oh, what is step 1? And then you're starting to like learn when you kind of miss that period. So that's why we're really emphasizing the sooner you can start on the journey, then you have multiple times to kind of have this knowledge reinforced and integrated as you are going through medical school. That's the ideal. So actually the ideal candidate who should be listening to this video is an MD1 student, because basically they have all the advantage. They have the advantage of time, and also the advantage that they can sort of pace themselves. And by the time you do this for 5 years, hopefully this stuff is basically pretty much like you basically, even if people start waking up from sleep, it's going to be very easy for you because it's something that you've sort of been doing for quite some time, and you kind of have it integrated. It's the integration that is the key part of this, right? You have to hear integration and not hear memorization. That's the key. And integration just takes time. There's no shortcut around it. You have to practice, you have to review, you have to put in the hours to do the integration. The memorization, yeah, you can do that the night before. But if you memorize and go to the step 1 exam, you will certainly fail. Maybe somebody should mention about pass fail. I guess people didn't really understand pass fail. Barbara, you kind of took that, but just to emphasize also the importance now, because step 1 is pass fail, then step 2 becomes even more important, because that is the next scored exam, right? So before, step 1 was scored, so it was very important. But maybe Barbara, you can just emphasize why the step 2 and step 3 score numbers are very important in this whole pass fail thing.
Let me tell you, this thing was changed like the year after I did my step 1. And I was like, why? Because step 1 scores really used to be, and maybe Dr. Koola can add on to this, it really used to be like the entry to get your application to be seen. But now that it changed to pass fail, it brings more pressure, especially for us IMG students in subsequent exams. The good thing is that you can get, once you're passing your step 1, you're ready to do it, do it. Don't procrastinate because you have to get to this certain score. So that's a good thing. So they changed it because they felt like there was so much emphasis being placed on it instead of looking at the student as a whole. But the truth, I think, is, not being a program director, Dr. Koola is one, so he'll add on to this, is that the burden has kind of been placed in subsequent exams and also in other things as a whole as a candidate, and perhaps maybe research and clinical experience play into it. That's what I think, but Dr. Koola can give us the insight as a program director.
So, I mean, the key thing is, as I said, numbers don't lie. You cannot flock into USMLE. If somebody has 260, they have good, solid knowledge, full stop, compared to somebody who has 211. So it's really, and you can see, I gave you an example. There's a slide which I'm showing people who matched and did not match across different specialties. There is no specialty where people with less scores match more than who has more scores.
Exactly.
Full stop. I mean,
Mhm.
what better trend do you want to look at? So
Yes.
it's really important. So step one is pass fail, which means either you pass or you fail. There's no score that is attached to it. Step two, CK, it scores from 300 to like, I think the pass score, I don't remember if it's 199 or 200. So, but that's how it's scored. And American medical graduates score around 240. And so what I say is you want to beat around that, beat where the median of the American medical graduates, and kind of that's where your application stand up. It means that you can score 225 when the people match, 221, they can still match, but you're better off doing better. So
Well, one thing also, like, on the scores, James, I don't know whether this is true for internal medicine, preventive medicine. I feel after a certain point, the score is kind of meaningless, right? So usually when I see people with like 260s, I'm like, you probably spent all your time studying. Like, to me, that's also sometimes it's a marker for like lack of balance, for lack of a better word. Like, I find like, somebody who hits 250 consistently, if they hit 250 step 2, 250 step 3, that tells me they're a solid student, right? Whereas somebody who kind of goes to like 260, 260, I'm like, oh my God, you probably didn't do anything for like 18 months just studying for the exam, which also kind of to me is a mark of, I don't know. So I feel like people want to excel, but I think like the test is not really designed for you to get maximum point. It's to show proficiency, meaning you will be reliable. You are trainable. We can take you on our word and you'll be solid. And it's just to kind of like, bad. So I don't want people to say, man, I didn't get 270. I did really bad. I'm like, that's the point. Like, so long as you cross 250, that's like a really excellent score. So there's like a balance part, which there's another thing that comes up. I would much rather you focus and get A's in your medical school grades, right? So the medical school grades are very good. Then you have poor grades in medical school, but then your test score is like 270. That also doesn't like, do very well, because then people are like, you spend all your time just studying for the exam, and then you actually don't really care about your rotations. You actually don't really care about the actual training that you get into medical school. I don't know, James, you can just that whole balance between test score and grading.
I'll chip in a couple of things. First, I mean, in terms of the review, if you can get to 70, get it. Like whatever. The more the merrier. It's like you say, more money is a problem. Give me $1 billion, I'll take it. So, so that's the way I'll go with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, as I said, you need to be well-rounded. Of course, you need to be able to know how to present yourself, because somebody cannot have the best scores, but the moment you go, you interview with them, they're infectious. You connect at personal level, and those are the things we talk about when you are doing 301. Like, how do you present yourself? How do you write your CV? How do you show your strength? All those things, you need them. So don't be a complete bookworm and kind of extrapolate the rest of the social issues. But in terms of medical school scores, what we noted, especially from the British countries, I mean, it's not uncommon people to get a lot of C's. See somebody has C, and then they have 255. So usually, in most cases, we don't even look at your medical school for international medical graduates. Or you find people have A's all over, and then they have 211. It's like, what does it mean? Really, your score is the one which kind of standardizes. It shows where you are, and it tells us you have the basic knowledge, you are trainable. We can start somewhere. You're not gonna come and ask, what is ELISA? The basic things. And so that's where then we can pick up and train you. Of course, we don't want you to be, we're gonna train you, you're a trainee, so we're gonna train you. But we wanna make sure that you have the basics, and then we can build up from there, and then you come up to be an outstanding attending. Yeah.
Great comments. Did Barbara Hesbon want to add a little bit more on that? And then we can move to the next topic, which is selecting which residence to pursue.
I think that was a very good explanation from the AD himself.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. How about can you guys comment on selecting which residency to pursue? I guess people at least, how do they decide which specialty, I guess?
I think the key thing is your interest. As you're rotating through, you're going through your MD4, you're going through different departments, you'll find something that vibes with you. What vibes with you.
Mhm.
And And then, of course, one thing I'll say is being realistic, because all the information is online. Let's say I have there's somebody who was communicating with me from Tanzania. The person loves neurosurgery. Like, I want to do neurosurgery. And this person did and failed USMLE step 1. So he's attempting. I'm like, you look through, the median of American medical graduates going to neurosurgery is like 250. And you have failed step 1 and you are thinking of neurosurgery. That's why I say you have to be realistic. So now all this information is out there. You're not even beating the median for American medical graduates. You're IMG and you want that residence, forget that. Go and do that in your country. You're not going to be able to do it here. So it's being realistic. Like what? It's not that he won't succeed. It's just too competitive. And what they do, they ended up taking the cream and you're left in the cold. So it's really what vibes with you, what interests you. I mean, you pick role models as you go along. That's how you get to like the interest and you move along. And really, there's no magic in terms of choosing, I'm going to do radiology, I'm going to do pediatrics, internal medicine, I'm going to do pathology, It's really like just the way you came into medicine and you didn't go into economics. So I don't know.
But the good point here is if you're MD1, then there's kind of no excuse that you should not hit a 240, 250. Right? So I guess the kind of way I kind of see it, like if you have all of this information and you're following the actual training, there is no way that you should not be at least hit the American medical student median, right? Because they're doing this after only 2 years. And now that you're doing 18 months, right? They come from college, they do 18 months of medical school. They have to take step 1 before they go to like the wards. There's not a choice. It's not like, oh, I'll do it when I feel it. You have to take step 1 before you can proceed, right? So if you have 5 years to practice and these guys have 18 months, there's absolutely no reason for you not to get a 240 or 250. I mean, it's kind of like, I just find it kind of like, I can't really sort of explain like why, why if you follow the formula, why you're not going to be able to do it. Again, the equivalent here is like if you're training for a marathon and people are trying to crack like 3 hours, whatever, and people are really pacing you to get to that point, we know you're going to cross this no matter what. The other thing that we do with our trainees with radiology exams, for example, we say that you have to be able to answer at least 2/3 of the question correctly, no matter what. Whether you're having a bad day, you're sick, you have to be able to answer 2 out of 3 questions correctly, no matter what, right? So if you're setting that baseline as you're going through, then to me, it's just a matter of like time. It can be a little bit more difficult if you're listening to us and you're already MD5 or if you're already sort of graduated and so forth, and you're really doing all of this training for the step 1, completely separate from medical school. I think it can be a little bit more training. But if you're starting at MD1, I think you can pretty much aim to at least beat the American medical school median score, which is around 240, 245, without any problem. But that's my sense of it. I don't know what you feel about that.
As you talk about that, let me go to the legendary, the veterans. Just so I want you to appreciate is I started USMLE 10 years after I graduated. So it doesn't matter. As long as your head is into it and you're determined, you will knock it off. And frankly speaking, I thought like I could understand more. I was more experienced and all those. But then it's a bad because in terms of strategy and timing and everything, it becomes a challenge. So it's wherever you are. But if you are young and you're going through and you're kind of building up that way, you're not buying into the thing a C doctor is just as good as A doctor, and you're kind of, perfecting your craft, then you can be. I think in the step 1 this year, you put it very well, Dr. Minja, saying that, it's like you're a soccer player. So it's either going to play at Banabao or you're going to play at Sinza in the Mchanga ground where, with potholes. So it's you are really making yourself, perfecting your craft in such a way that you play in the big leagues. And that's what you are looking for, and that's how you should brand yourself and think what you're doing. So just to answer, there's a person asking about USMLE RX.
Yeah.
There are so many databases. UWorld is real like premium. I don't get anything from UWorld, but UWorld is real premium in terms of their questions. When I was doing CK, I wasted my time. I did UWorld and did RX. And kind of, I did RX and then I went to do UWorld. And there are things I was answering in UWorld using RX knowledge and I'm getting them wrong. So, you know, these question banks, some of them are wrong. And so, which means you get wrong concept, which means if you get question along those lines, you can get it wrong. So it's good you use a very, you know, nice Q bank. And with 3,700 questions, you don't need anything else. Just do UWorld, forget those others, and that's what I'll say. You know, you guys, if you have done recently Hesbon, what do you say? You know, I don't want to. I'm sounding like a UWorld broker now.
No, I mean, that's true. UWorld is the #1 resource for USMLE. UWorld is a must. You must do UWorld before you even think of doing step 1 or step 2.
Great.
Yeah. And if you're going to do internal medicine, it follows through. UWorld still remains the best resource.
Great stuff. All right, so I think well, the only other thing, Dr. James, if you could maybe just show, I think you had that one slide that had the median scores across the different specialties. I think that can also help really solidify, sort of give people like a target score for they to aim to, because I think, you know, as we make it a little bit more concrete, it may help people to kind of like also measure themselves as they're kind of going across. I think that would be helpful for people to see again. And as Dr. James is bringing that, I think we're ending up to the top of the hour. So Barbara and Hesbon, you can prepare like a 1 or 2 minute summary, and we can bring our presentation to a close. All right, great. All right, great, right? So I hope people understand how to kind of like, you know, look at this. But maybe if you can just point out that plastic surgery.
Yeah, you can post like plastic surgeries here, you know, 257 almost
right?
for median for American medical graduates, people matching, and people who did not match scored like 245. You know, you see plastic surgery 245, they didn't match, but you can see here, for example, pediatrics, you know, 232. That's the people who match. I mean, so there's no, their median score is not even coming to the one who did not match in plastic surgery. So if it means if you applied pediatrics and you had this score, obviously you are in, because, you know, their median score is so low. Unless otherwise you went there in the presentation and you had some red flag issues where there are things which we'll talk about. How do you interview? How do you present yourself? You know, you don't have to look, you don't show that you're arrogant. You know, you have to be, you know, present yourself well, connect, human connection. So it's really going across. You come here like this is internal medicine peds, you know, you see there's like 242, they didn't match like 233. You know, you come, you see like family medicine, like, you know, it's really like 225. That's the median of American medical graduates who matched. You know, the one who did not match,
for people who are looking for specialty, this can be a reality check, right? So, you know, if you're applying from outside, meaning you're an international medical graduate, you want to be reasonably realistic. At the same time, if you're really aiming for one of these specialties, that's the score you need to target, right? So if you say, I really want to become a plastic surgeon and I want to train in the United States, that's your competition. So you have to basically score above the American median, right? For them to look at an international medical graduate, you have to perform better than the local people, right? So, you know, if they're 255 as an American medical graduate, it means an IMG probably is 265 before they even look at you. Right, you have to add something extra. So I think that would be like a good way to kind of, you know, think about it. And again, early exposure can really help you in sort of deciding which specialty may be of interest to you, and kind of get early exposure and all of that. So we're coming on top of the hour, so we'll give each one a minute to help us wrap up. So we'll start again with Barbara, go to Hesbon, and then we can bring our talk to a close at the hour. Karim, Dr. Barbara.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to be here as always. Thank you, Dr. Koola, Dr. Minja, Dr. Magacha. A special thanks to Emmanuel Kibona from Tanzania for being the only one to That's very brave, and I commend you. And as well as the 2 people from Botswana that I saw, I'm not sure if they're still here. Such a pleasure to have everybody represented, East and South Africa. Karibuni, welcome. I think just for me is my ending note is just to say that you can do it. I did it under very difficult situations. We all have very unique journeys, but we were able to do it. So I really believe that you can do it. And if you have any questions, just feel free to let us know and we'll be happy to help. But you have to take the steps and you have to schedule your exams. There's no two ways about it. Yeah. And don't email us on our personal emails, like Dr. Koola said. Yeah.
That's a very important point. We have really shied away from socializing, right? So we don't have WhatsApp groups where you are chatting like 24/7. That's another like waste of time, right? We're here to kind of give you tips that you need to go and implement. It's about execution. It's about integration. It's like we're saying this is how you train for a marathon. I don't want to chat about how to train for a marathon. I want you to see out there training. I want you to see you running, not talking to me about, what you did yesterday or what happened at medical school, what Trump announced on Twitter, like whatever. I don't want to hear any of that. So we kind of minimize the chatter. So there is no like WhatsApp group for you guys to kind of like socialize at that level. But again, if there are questions that are pertinent, meaning mentorship related questions, then we can certainly answer that, right? So if it's sort of like a technical question, hey, I'm considering this source versus that source, what do you think? Those kind of questions are very welcome, but these kind of like random social like questions, I think you'll have to have. There are enough WhatsApp groups that exist in TikTok and other like platforms for you to do that. We don't need to do that in our sort of environment. So please pay attention to that and use the USMLE Pursuit Gmail, because also it means that allows us to share the same answers with many others who may have the same exact question. So if you come inbox, then it means you only want to gain for yourself. But if you come to USMLE Pursuit, we can share that knowledge more widely. So asante sana, Dr. Barbara. As always, a pleasure to have you on board. Karibu, Dr. Hesbon, for your minute.
One thing of just be yourself, believe in yourself, choose few resources for USMLE. There's a lot of resources out there. Don't you try to use everything that you can. That's impossible. Just choose a few resources and stick to them. Invest your time, and everything is possible. They say it's not easy for IMG to march into prostate surgery, but yes, there's people who've marched into that just because you're dedicated and everything is possible in short. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Asante sana Magachi. And the other point, I think Dr. Koola usually mentions this, is that basically the US system actually cannot function without IMGs. That's something that's usually not really like mentioned, but this is basically true that most, I don't know, you had the exact numbers last time, Dr. Koola, in terms of like how many IMGs take graduate medical education in the States. Are you able to share those stats again, just to tell people how many people matched as IMGs to show people what's possible?
Yeah, so I mean, the key thing is, it's a changing landscape. There's changing leadership. There's a changing vibe, and people will be like, "I should not study. Trump is president. I cannot match." Believe me, we almost 19,000 of the 41,000 residents who started this year are IMGs, kind of trained outside the United States. So it's a needed kind of group. As you are training, you are doing work, you get paid salary, but you're doing work, it's easier to see patient with residents, especially a good resident, who can go assess and tell you, and, you as an attending in few minutes, you see many more, and Medicare understands that. And that's why they pay for you. It's not like they're doing a favor. They are so charitable that they're gonna train people from, from Topwande or somewhere else. So it's the opportunities are there. They are huge. And really, you can train with the best and get the thing. So the key thing is applying yourself, making that decision yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Make this decision. This is what I want to do. Convince yourself, and then go and do it. And once people see you are in the zone, you are doing it, and associate with like-minded people. Don't waste your time. There's a lot of people out there will tell you, oh, it doesn't happen. Nobody passes. There's a guy who's now an attending in Maryland, and he was working at Aga Khan, and there was this doctor from Pakistan telling him, nobody passes USMLE, don't even try it. And the guy was like, what's this? He decided, you know what, ignore the noise, kind of studied, and decided, I can't believe if I listened to that guy, I would not have done it. These are the people who probably they failed, they didn't have the strategy, and they're trying to discourage, kind of saying, oh, it's not worth it. You know, I'm telling even my motivation to help you guys. I was told when I came to the US, just do public health, don't do clinicals. It's a waste of time. I'm like, how? You know, so you do your research and you certify yourself and like, I don't want you to be in that position. I want you to know it's a great opportunity if you can do it. You can train, you can transfer knowledge, you can really play in the big league, you know, play in the Premier League and not play, you know, in the Kombe la Mbuzi. You know, they have those small competition in the village where you play to win a goat, you know, in those rudimentary grounds. So you can play in the big league and do it. And we are here to support you. Please apply yourself, help each other, be, you know, guide each other. There's nobody's competing with you. The big person you're competing with, you're competing against yourself. That's what I'll tell you.
I think that's a great way to wrap up our session. I think we've said it all. Hopefully this is inspirational and motivational and not scary for you guys. And again, please share the knowledge widely. We really want to reach as many MD1 students, and hopefully we're going to do this for a few more years, not too many. But at some point, we post all of the videos and recordings on YouTube, so they're available. I think this is the second time we're doing it. So we'll have, 3-4 versions of this. After that, this should be common knowledge. So nobody should ever say, I don't know how to study for USMLE. I don't know how to apply for residency in the US. Like, I don't know what your residency training in the US is. We want I'm gonna reach like PCB students in Tanzania, like Form 5 and 6, we're gonna reach to that level. So slowly they understand this at a very early age, so then they can be focused. And this basically what it does, it helps everybody be focused in medical school because it changes how people study. So imagine if all the students in Tanzania did UWorld. Imagine if all the students in Tanzania did step 1. It means they're going to be better medical students. If they're better medical students, they're going to become better medical doctors. If they become better medical doctors, they're going to become better specialists. It just helps the whole ecosystem across the board. So that's really part of this agenda here, is to make sure, one, everybody has access to this information, right? You're not doing anybody. It doesn't help you if you don't share the knowledge. So, you can't really hold this. This is public information, and these insights, we want them to be widely available. So please share. We really wish you all the best, and we want all of you to become the best medical doctors you can be, because one of these days I may be in Dar es Salaam somewhere, and I hope the Kibonas of the world will be able to take care of me and not be like, oh, I didn't know that. I want to be like, oh, that's just like the step 1 question. All right, boom, like treat me correctly. So that would be the best thing that you can do to give us, as opposed to me, I'm down there getting a stroke and you guys are like, oh, Professor Minja has a UTI. I'm like, shit, man. I'm like, stop that nonsense. Get me that TPA now, right? You got to help me out. So we're all helping. I say this jokingly, but at our age, we are now becoming that proverbial 50-year-old male. Okay, so we need you young people to take care of us. And I say this very, very seriously. The best thing we can do is train the next generation, because they'll take care of us. So really, I hope that leaves you guys on a positive note. I think we're right on top of the hour in terms of when we started. Asanteni sana for joining us. We will share this on Twitter and on YouTube. Asanteni sana, and all the best. And please keep grinding and do the great work. Dr. James, if you may have one last word, we close the session.
I mean, nothing. Good luck. I hope I see you next year in May when you're applying. You're going to apply.
We have another session, 301. When is 301 again?
It's in May, but this year they have not done yet. So I'm excusing them from this May.
That session is only for people who passed.
Yes, they are ECFMG certified. They are first step 1, step 2, and they are applying in September. The application opens in September. So we're talking May.
They're actually getting into the real game.
Yeah. So it's look forward to that.
Keep grinding. Some of you may not get to that point for a little while, but for those who are ready, please don't hesitate. Look ahead and see what the future is like. You don't have to wait until MD5 to kind of look at USMLE 301. They're all available on YouTube. We just like to have these sessions tight, so that way we can have a more meaningful discussion and fewer spectators. But after that, it's all recorded and anybody can watch it, and you can rewatch it as many times. There are many concepts that we mentioned here that may take you a while to absorb, right? It may take you a while to absorb and integrate. So don't feel bad if you have to listen to these things more than 3 times to actually kind of get what we're saying. It's not really meant to you to understand it right away. There's a lot of information contained here. Yamani,
and just to add there, Frank, as you are winding up, it's very important, even if you're on this session, just take time when the YouTube video, because I'll email everybody, just take time, sit down, listen, and take notes. And then you create your blueprint and work on it. It's very, very important.
All right, awesome. Yamani, asanteni, we gave you homework. Jumamosi njema. We shall see you next time. Asanteni sana.
Thank you.